G'day everyone. Welcome to another Toon podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's original and best podcast dedicated to all things Newcastle United. Tonight, we'll be doing a little preview of the Man City game this weekend. Just before we go any further, if you could quickly pause this video if you're on YouTube, hit that thumb at the bottom of the video. It really helps us out with our content and getting it out there. Bobby modeling that thumb perfectly for those who are watching. Those who aren't watching, imagine a ridiculously good-looking man with his thumb up, and you've probably got a nice description of Bobby with his thumb. If you're listening on audio platform, leave us a review, even just a 5-star. You don't even have to write anything. If you want to write Bobby's thumb's the best-looking thumb you've ever seen, you can also write that. That'll be appreciated as well. So if in case you haven't picked it up, I am joined by Bobby in Ballarat. How are you, mate?
Good, Keegs. Going well. We were both in Melbourne today, which both regional boys hitting the big smoke at the same time in the same area.
Yeah, I was getting a sore neck looking at all the bloody big skyscrapers and stuff here rather than a 10, 13-story Geelong dwelling is probably as big as we get at the moment. So I was like a bloody kid in a candy shop walking around. Nearly got hit by 4 cars, not looking where I was going. But
traffic kills.
We're here alive. We're alive. We're here to tell the tale. So that's the main thing. We're here to talk about the Man City game on the weekend. Second versus fifth. I'm not sure if we're in the sort of El Cachico sort of region yet. We haven't spent our money, so maybe in a few years when we've actually spent some money, we can call it the El Cachico. We're just we're the ones with the money in the bank who can't spend it yet. So once we get out of FFP jail, we'll be El Cachico. But for those who aren't familiar with the table, it's second versus fifth. Sorry, it's a battle of the two big six clubs, which are always good. For those of you in the UK, I believe it's a 12:30 kickoff, a lunchtime kickoff for you guys. It's 11:30 for us in the normal states of Victoria, South Wales, 10:30 for the Banana Benders, and anywhere else or anyone else that's listening, check your local guides for details is normally the way to go. Yeah. We'll spend an hour with everyone's time zones at what time your game starts. Bobby, it's been a funny week, hasn't it? I've called it the Carabao comedown. Yeah, everyone's sort of back in their shelters a bit. How have you dealt with the Carabao comedown?
Probably the 7 stages of grief has enveloped me this week. It was really bad at the morning of, I suppose, on the Monday. A bit depressed. Thought, we probably won't get an opportunity like that again. And then you start reading stuff and all the realism comes into it and think, no, this is the start of the journey. So you get over it. I think we're a bit different here in Australia. We're surrounded by these Manc fans. They're everywhere. They come out of the woodwork as well. When
inverted commas, fans.
Yeah, you don't hear from them ever, but when they win, you get a text message from some of them, and you're like, I didn't even know you supported them. But so it's been hard to cop this week, but then I think just the element of pride in the club, in the fans, everything that's come from it, from Trafalgar Square to the Trafalgar Square cleanup, to the flags on the ground before the game, to especially when we were 2-0 down in the 90th minute. It enveloped everything about this club and just sort of spoke on what we've got to look forward to, I think. So I'm very positive, but there hasn't been much going on this week, so it's given us a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah, I think I landed the same as you. I was disappointed sort of post-game, but not as disappointed as I thought I was going to be, because I didn't sort of go in with high hopes anyway. Like, I thought we were going to lose, and then you see all this shit on social media. So I ended up muting the word Carabao on Twitter for the week because I was sick of seeing these random shit come up. And then in the For You section, just that started getting filled up with bloody Man United stuff as well. So yeah, it led me to mute Carabao until I've decided they've passed. So yeah, but then I was I was the same as you. It was really not satisfying. It's probably not, but it was really I was really proud, like you, to say I'm a Newcastle supporter when you did see all that stuff in Trafalgar Square, and the cleanup was obviously probably just as impressive as what the actual turnout and the carry on was as well. And then you get to game day and all the stuff in that, like the pubs leading up and all the videos and Big Dazza having a sing along with everyone on the microphone, like it was pretty cool. And then, yeah, like you said, even though the result wasn't going to go our way, the support, even right at the end of the game, was massive. And that sort of stuff's unprompted. Look, it wasn't scripted. It wasn't. People just started doing it, and it caught on. And then all of a sudden, half the ground's black and white again, even in a really trying time. So, yeah, I think, and I was just happy. Like I said in the week leading up to it that, like 98, 99, me and you are of a similar vintage, Bobby, that we can enjoy. Like we enjoyed the game on SBS over here in Australia, but there was no social media there. Like you get no build up. You don't get a feel for the actual occasion and the weekend as well. Like you get the 90 minutes or maybe I suppose hour and a half or whatever it is with the pregame normally, but you don't actually get to encapsulate the whole weekend. And I think that's what I probably loved about the weekend the most was getting, obviously being there was going to be never an option, but you actually get to live it a little bit, I guess, through social media and the videos and stuff like that. And like I was showing my missus stuff, she was probably sick of me by the end of it. I'm pretty sure she doesn't give two shits about it, to be honest. But I was so happy,
I feel
so
you,
excited. Yeah, look at this, and she's like, yeah, but I don't really care. But yeah, and then even like with like the owners sort of incognito mingling amongst it on the
that was fantastic.
Saturday night, and then Sam Fender front and center right near the fountain as well. Like, and then I'll tell you what I did love as well, Bobby, and I'm sure you would have as well. I loved all the past players who have had a connection with the club, mainly a lot during the Ashley era as well, who did sort of leave for one reason or another, actually come back and showed their colours and stuff like that. Like I've seen so many, like Dwight Gale rocked up in his kit, like that was unreal. And then like Andy Carroll, Joey Barton was there, like supporting the club, even though I'm not sure if him and Lascelles sort of crossed over at the end. I can't remember. They'd be right on the edge of it. But even like as far back as him, obviously like Alan Shearers and Shay Gibbons and all that, they've always had a strong affection for the club, being Newcastle people. But seeing the current sort of era, the new era, I guess, actually come back. Isaac Hayden doing drive-bys as well, just come to mind. Like it was really cool, and it shows that I think that really shows that regardless of the ownership previous, the actual players had a real bond with each other and the fans and stuff like that, regardless of what was going upstairs. So yeah, were you similar to me? Did you enjoy that part of it as well?
Yeah, loved it. Like all the ex-players, and some of them, as you said, they did leave, pretty dirtily as well, because of issues from previous owners. But I think you're right. I think it just showed we're a proper football club in a proper city that embrace these people and they fall in love. So for all the talk sports and people out there that say, oh, you wouldn't want to go play in Newcastle, you'd rather play in London. I think it always comes back to, we always see our superstars or past players talk about how much they love the club and how much they love the city and the people. And that was testament to it. What we saw, it was just ex-player after ex-player, and it was just pride. It feels like the club's back now. Like, I think, as I said, this is the start of the journey, and I think we're in for some good times, but we've just got to now produce the results. But yeah, that was great to see.
Yeah, I think I don't want to turn this into an AFL podcast, but me being with Geelong and you being Richmond, like they actually really look after their people, if that makes sense. Like you see a lot of people who once they go to Richmond, they sort of attach themselves to Richmond after that. Geelong's renowned for bringing players in, and the only players that really leave are really like fringe players who aren't really getting a game, who actually want to try and play AFL footy and stuff like that. And I think that speaks to both the cultures of the actual clubs as well. And I do see the same thing at Newcastle. You know what I mean? Like everyone gets brought in and they fit in straight away, and it's just a great culture. And like the only people who want to leave really are players who sort of aren't getting a game. And fair play, like not everyone wants to sit there and happy to take a paycheck. They want to actually come play the sport they enjoy. So I think,
absolutely.
Like you said, it is the start of our journey, but I think them building blocks were in place far before the new ownership they took over. The players sort of had a siege mentality and banded together against the establishment, I guess, if you want to call it that. So, like, the more, like you said, the more success or the better we become on pitch. Like, if this is the start of the journey, I mean, the next 5 years is going to be bloody frightening to see what this monster turns into.
Speaking on that, did you hear Amanda Staveley on TalkSport? She reckons we're going to win the lot. So,
yeah,
we're going to win everything.
I don't know if she had a couple of cordials or Mandy's had some shandies, or I'm not sure, but she was coming in hot. That's for sure.
Oh, mate, like that was usually ownerships and people involved in the clubs like to shy away from all that sort of stuff, but she was on the front foot with so much confidence.
Foot. Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe we should call this podcast "Mandy Had Some Shandy." So
that's
a good one.
Yeah, every time she comes out with a hot take, we just say, "Oh, Mandy's on the shandies again," or something like that. All right. Anyway, moving on from that fun but unfulfilled weekend. It's probably a good way to describe it. So I think back to the last time we played Man City before the World Cup, and for me, that was one of the best games of Newcastle in the Premier League I've seen for a very, very long time. It was both teams just attacking each other. It was great. It was up and down. There were goals. Like the 90 minutes flew. Like watching it, and that's saying something like in the middle of the night. But it was mental. Like, but I don't see this weekend, unfortunately, going the same way. I'll actually bring up a light here. So this is the team who we played against Man City. We played Man City last time. So it's very similar to probably people would argue this is our best 11 at the moment. And maybe a couple of contentious ones with St. Maximin, maybe for Gordon, and the Wilson Isak debate. But I mean, we've got Pope in goal, Trippier, Sharp, Botman, Byrne, Bruno, Willock, and Joel Linton as a midfield three, and then Miggy, Wilson, and St. Maximin. Now, it just shows that, I guess, the funk we're in at the moment, Bobby. Like, we could put this exact same team out on the weekend and realistically lose 3 or 4-0. The way we're playing at the moment. We'll get on to Bobby's fix a little bit later on, but how would you sort of think where we're at the moment with this team compared to where we were 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah, I think I've been vocal on our chat anyway, just saying we're in a funk. We are really struggling. The XG, what we call XG wankers.
XG wankers, here we go. Shout out to the XG wankers who are listening or watching.
Namely Jack and Dimmy. Seem to think that we're all right and the chances we're getting are good, but we're not putting it away, and we're terribly out of form in the front half. And I think that was my main concern going into the Carabao Cup final. And it proved to be. We got some opportunities, but we just seem to be lacking that cutting edge. And I don't know why it is. I think we play a really intense style of football, and we've played it for a long time. And whether the players are now with the squad we have, we don't have the depth. We've relied on the same players for so long. Whether they're the energy levels, their fitness, their carrying stuff, whatever it may be, we're just not the same team as we were when we played Man City last time in that brilliant 3-3 draw. Wilson, for one, is a striker who's unbelievably out of form and shouldn't have been starting the Carabao Cup, in my opinion.
He's off his tucker.
He's rooted, and I understand Howe has an affection for him and he has a loyalty to some players, but yeah, he's a shadow of himself, and he needs a few weeks out to get his body right and to get his health and fitness back. I know I was speaking to someone at the club and said he's still feeling the effects from a COVID situation he had previously. And I
Yeah.
just say if that's the case, then he's got to step away, because we have got a $65 or $75 million
Yeah. We're
pound
not playing him in
striker.
front of Dwight Gale anymore. Like,
No, that's what I mean. You're not bringing in, someone like Dwight Gale to manage the workload. You've got a guy that every time he comes on the pitch turns a game and creates some chances, and it doesn't matter who the opposition is. So, look, it's going to be tough. I'm like you. I don't see it being the same as last time. We're away from home. City are ramping up now. They're really starting to ramp up. They can smell the title. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
yeah. So we just got a little, got a few stats with the new office job. You've got the luxury of being on a computer most of the day, so you can sort of look around these things. So they've only lost once this year, Man City, at the Etihad to Brentford.
Mm.
Look, that'd probably be a nice trivia question if I didn't spoil it for everyone. But if you want to try that on your friends, go for it. And they've only had one draw as well, and that was to Everton. So, like, Brentford have been okay this year, but the draw from Everton's a real outlier, I guess, a real strange result. And that's what happens sometimes, I guess, where you do get funny results. They've actually scored a league high 41 goals at home this season as well, which is frightening. I think some of their early home games look like a bloody cricket scorecard with some of the bloody numbers they were putting up. And the next best is Arsenal at 27. So that sort of gives you a bit of an idea of how much further they are. And the last time they actually didn't score at home in a game was in 2021 against Crystal Palace, in the Premier League, against Crystal Palace. So that gives you a
And that's
little bit
important.
of that
That's
gives you a
important
bit
to
of an
where we play.
indication,
We're going to look to
knowing we
try to hold
can't
them to it.
score.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We're going to try to hold them to as least amount of goals as possible to see if we can get someone the other way. And if they just don't not score. I know that's a bit weird way of putting it, but they
yeah.
score every time at home. They do, and they got that beast up front, Haaland, who's looking pretty good again. He had a little bit of a slump, but he's coming. He's
Yeah.
coming good again. So look, it's going to be tough. We know what we're in for. A result from this week would be absolutely outstanding. I'd take one of their mishaps, and they've got a couple of big games coming up against RB Leipzig in the Champions League, and then quarterfinal of the FA Cup against Burnley, who've of course managed by Vincent Company, who's an
Yes.
ex-champion of that club. So they have got some. Their eyes will not be fully on the ball, but I think from what I've seen of them, they can smell the title now. I think they're in Arsenal's grasp, or Arsenal were in their grasp, and I think they'll put out their strongest team.
Yeah. Look, I still don't know which way the title will fall. Like you said, I think they're still up for grabs. I think United are sort of coming with a rush as well, sort of in this grind, through this winter grind. And I'm a bit of a believer. I don't know about you, Bobby. I'm a bit of a believer in the knowing how to do it, if that makes sense. So Man City have done it, and they've been in and around it a lot, and they sort of know how to manage different parts of the season. And all right, let's start rotating now because we want these guys fresher for later on and stuff like that. And yeah, I think you're right, mate. You definitely can't write them off. I think they're going to come, and they're going to come hard, and with the squad depth that they've got.
Yeah,
They can manage it probably better than anyone. I mean, like Arsenal, they've been playing great, but I mean, a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden their squad's not as deep as what Man City is, and a win might turn into a draw or something like that, or like they might not be losing games, but Man City are just going to be this juggernaut who just keep coming and coming and coming, and I think it's going to be hard to really maintain for Arsenal at least what they're doing for the end of the season, knowing, like you said, this juggernaut stopping, and I have to try and find a way to get yourself out of these last sort of games or 13
yeah.
games, whatever's left. So, which
It
is frightening
reminds
for
me.
us as well.
And I don't want to go back to this because it's probably one of the worst memories in sport I've got, but it reminds me of the 95-96 season where we were playing absolutely brilliant
Yes,
football with
yeah,
12
good
points up,
comparison.
absolutely flying. No one thought the juggernaut that was United at the time, that had been there, done it, knew how to manage that last part of the season. And look what happened. And I sort of see it like Man City's already gathered a lot of points on Arsenal in the last few weeks. And I think, yeah, as it gets closer to the end, absolutely right, Man City will be able to manage that part of it better, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something to watch. Now, um, normally around this part of the podcast, we do our predicted lineup, which is generally how we think Eddie will pick the side for the upcoming game. Just want to do something a little bit different now. It is plain for everyone to see that we are in a funk. Things are really stale at the moment as well. So with now the transfer window's closed, refresh the squad, I guess, with incoming players. So we're going to have to do it with what we've got. So Bobby, I'll put it to you to come up with Bobby's 11. If Bobby sort of was given the keys this week, given the keys to the gym, go do his pec work, sit on the touchline with Mad Dog Tyndall, this is what you've come up with. So I'll bring this up now. We might go line by line, Bobby, if that's cool with you, and then you can sort of discuss how you come to where you come to for each line. So
Yep.
Pope's a no-brainer. He's back in goals after his little bit of a brain fart. Now the back four, you've made one change. We've got Trippier, Sharp, Botman, and you've brought Matty Target back in for the big Dan Burn from Blythe. What is your reasoning for this?
Dan's a little bit out of form. I think he was, I won't say woeful, but I think he was very overawed in the Carabao Cup. And I'm starting to see this in his game, and I think other clubs have worked out a lot of his running patterns and what he can and can't do now. And a team like Man City, I think, having Target there, a little bit more mobile, a little bit more left back savvy, will be good. I think, look, we have to be a bit more defensive being away from home, and we'll come onto the front three and why I picked those because of the defensive abilities as well. And that just ties into why Target is in the team. I think his defensive work will be better suited away from home against a Man City who are very fluid in attack.
Yes, nice. And I wonder, and we'll never know the answer to this. So this is an open-ended question. I wonder if the occasion maybe got to Dan a little bit on the weekend, like being a local boy. He remembers all the shit stuff as well, the earlier or the last sort of 98, 99 sort of failures as well. And I mean, it would mean a lot for a local guy to come out and be on Wembley, walk out in his bloody dream colours and sees half the stadium with black and white. Like anyone, not just him. Like, let's be honest. Like anyone would be overcome. If you're a local guy and that doesn't affect you, then you must be a dickhead, or you've got no feelings or no soul or anything. Because it's impossible to be affected by it. Now, how that translated into his game, like he would have been bloody nervous all week, I reckon, and then.
He had a lot more riding on it than a lot of the other players, I think.
Like I'm not saying the other ones, they're not invested, but it's a different kind of investment for
his
him.
whole family would have been reminding him for the last 2 weeks. Talking about, imagine if you can do this. Imagine, and just mentally, I think it's like us, mate. If we got a gig on the team, at Wembley for Newcastle, I'd get a red card within 5 seconds because I'd just be like a psycho trying to do stuff. But
I don't think I'd get on the ground. I wouldn't walk out of the tunnel. I'd be shitting myself too much to get out of the tunnel.
But I reckon, like poor Dan and poor Longy, I think they had the weight of the Geordie nation on their backs, and especially with Dan after he scored against Leicester to get us to this point. I think it all plays in. Like, I'm definitely not blaming him for the loss. Don't get that wrong, but I thought he was out of form before that anyway. But yeah, I think for that game, I think I felt bad for him and Longy because they would have copped it for 2 weeks about tickets. They would have copped it from their family who will
Yeah,
support the club,
yeah.
and
Old
mentally it was
Uncle Bill,
probably
you haven't seen for bloody 8 years. Flicks
I
the
think it
text
was
out. Hey,
hard
Sean,
thing to do.
yeah, Uncle Bill, you got a couple of tickets for me? um, anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on to Longstaff. It's a good segue. So your midfield three is Longstaff, Bruno, and Big Joe. Now we are assuming that Bruno's ankle is fine
Fit.
after that knock
Yeah.
he picked up as well. So it is. I suppose the question with this line is: have you not chosen Willock because of fitness, or you think he
Oh,
is
both.
both?
Yeah,
Go
I
on,
think Longs I
go
think
on, my son.
Longs I think Longstaff defensively works harder, um, and can cover more space, and he covers a lot of the pitch. And I think, well, Bruno and Jolinton do the same, and they pick themselves. So it was out of Longstaff and Willick. I think Willick's coming back from injury, but Longstaff's defensive coverage is a lot better than what Willick's is. And against Man City at Man City, again, the theme here is work hard defensively, block the space, block the threats of attack, and then try to hit them on the way forward if we can. That one chance or two chances we get in the
Yeah.
whole 90 minutes, because that's all we're going to get. So the theme of mine is just defensive work rate and the press and everything like that, and covering the gaps. And that's why I picked who I did.
So, and also, could you envision like a Longstaff and Bruno sort of interchanging as well at some stages? Maybe in attack, Joel Linton changing on that left wing as well, and sort of playing the double pivot in the midfield. And we'll get to who you've chosen on the left in a minute, but him in more of a roaming number 10 role as well.
Because of who I picked it left up front, yes, he can. That's a very fluid three. If
Yeah,
there was
things are
someone
a lot
else that,
more
yeah,
interchangeable and stuff like that. Yes.
if there was someone else picked on the left, Joel Linton would have to stay on the left for coverage and
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
So I think, you're right. I think all those three can be fluid, and depending on what stage of the game or the way the ball is going or the momentum's going, can interchange on where they want because of the front three. I think particularly the two out wide.
Yeah. For those who are listening, he's really done Matt Ritchie in here on the left. No, he hasn't really. We'll go the front three. So we've got Almiron, Isak up top, and Aaron Gordon on the left wing. Yeah, Almiron's in as big a funk as probably anyone at the moment as well. Look, his golden balls wasn't going to last like all season. Let's be honest. It was a big outlier of his career. I think he's sort of reverted a bit more back to form and back to type now as well, which does leave us sort of lacking in that right wing space. And I can see that area being targeted in the summer for an upgrade. Isak for Wilson, that you alluded to earlier, it's probably a no-brainer now. If he's crook even if he's not crook, he's just not playing. Like he's not playing well enough to justify his space. And Aaron Gordon, obviously cup tied last weekend and couldn't make it. But personally, I didn't think ASM played a bad game. I thought he was one of our probably best players, to be honest. I've been somewhat critical of Alan in the past and have sometimes wished him well in future endeavours already. But I actually thought he was okay. But I have really, really loved Gordon and what he's brought on and brought to the team when he's played. I love his energy. I love his enthusiasm without the ball. He's really sort of what's the word? Aggressive in his defending, if that makes sense. Sometimes that's to his detriment, but I think I've said before, he's sometimes I don't think he goes in with malice. I just think he runs that fast, and his sort of handbrake's probably not as good as what it can be, and he does catch people late if they sort of make a sudden movement when they see him and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm keen to hear your Gordon for ASM reasoning.
Yeah, I think if we were at home, possibly ASM I would have put in just because of what he did last time, and he ran them around a bit ragged. But I think the game plan here won't be the same. It won't be all out blitz attack against Man City. So we have to have that defensive structure from the top. I think we've got to press them high. And Gordon and Almiron both work incredibly hard defensively and can plug the space. Are both very quick and very fit. And I think their pace will worry on the counter as well with Isaac up top. I think it's a very fast front three, very, very rapid. So if we do get a chance to counter, Man City will be having to worry about the space in behind a lot more. So that is the reason Gordon's just better defensively, and Joel Litton won't have to worry about giving up his game to cover because Maxi's layerizing it up front in the pocket. And I agree. I think Maxi was really good against Man United and probably was our only real threat going forward. But this is a different game, and this is, I'd like to be a bit more defensive.
Yeah, we're back to reality now. It's probably back to the bread and butter. Bobby, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree with everything that you've done here. Whether Eddie agrees with it or not, we'll find out in a few days' time. But I think, I think now, especially kind of since Christmas or the turn of the year, our form's been pretty shit, to be honest. I think it's time for a little refresh and a little rejig and things like that. And really, at the end of the day, like it actually breeds competition. So Dan will be filthy if he loses his spot to target, and he'll be out in the training pitch given probably more than what he has before trying to get his spot back. And Target will do the same when he plays. So he'll be doing all he can to hold his spot. Gordon the same. He's going to know that ASM's breathing down his neck, and the stuff with sort of Willock and Joel Linton, their ability to sort of interchange on that left wing as well is real, and that's a threat. So yeah, I think and Wilson, like maybe when Isak starts, that sort of lights that fuse back under him that he had before the World Cup. So yeah, I 100% agree with you, mate. I think now's the time. Like I never believe in nothing to lose games. You've always got something to lose and stuff like that, especially with maybe not top four anymore, but at least European qualification still firmly on our radar. Like we do have a lot to lose. Liverpool and their sort of Sistine Chapel ceiling look like they've turned a corner in their season as well. And sort of the only thing that's helping us, I reckon, at the moment is Chelsea and Tottenham not really turning their sort of years around, which is good for us and sort of allowed us to hang around that top six when our form hasn't been the best. So, yeah, hopefully I'd love to see that, mate, because like I said, a little bit of enthusiasm and a little bit of new spark in the team, I think will do us a world of good. And who knows, because I'm sure Eddie's pulled a few levers already this year trying to change things and change the way we play. And I think he's been pretty hesitant, I guess, to pull the selection lever. But I think there's enough evidence now to suggest I think it's time to pull it.
Agreed.
Having said that, there's every chance he won't. It's going to be the same.
I think we spoke about this during the week. I don't think he will, but
I think
the only
change could be Karius in for Pope, who I didn't think played that bad for a bloke who probably hasn't played for 3 years.
No, he was good.
3 years as well.
Very
so
good.
He'll be back to where he was even in the squad anymore because Dubravka can come back on the bench as well. So he'll be back giving high fives and fist bumps to everyone when they walk in. But before we go, I'll get a prediction off you. It's probably not the prediction most people want to hear, but I think me and you are the realists in the group, mate. We really take our predictions seriously and make Dimmy work hard for that spreadsheet he updates every week. So
Dimmy's got the spreadsheet. We've got the results, I think.
Yeah.
I'm torn between 2-0 and 3-0. Losses. I'm going to say 2-0. I think I'm hoping Eddie comes with my thinking about the defensive structure, but I still don't think we'll be able to put away our opportunities, and they're just too good a side that they won't mess up the chance. So I'll say 2-0 loss.
All right, I'll have a think about it. Check our socials if you want to get my prediction later on. And also, if you've made it this far, we'd love to hear your feedback on whatever side you think 11 we should put out on the weekend. Wouldn't mind Bobby getting a bit of feedback on his side as well.
And my
If
thumb.
you don't agree with him, you're probably wrong. And his thumb. Don't forget that. If you haven't done it, give us a thumb already down the bottom. I wish you could do it twice to make us even more YouTube relevant. But I think that just about wraps us up, mate. Not much more to talk about. I appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back maybe Sunday night or morning with our review show. Hopefully, we've got some good reviewing coming up. If not, we'll have a bloody good preview next week. I can guarantee you that. So,
if you want a more positive pod, definitely that Sunday one with the XG wankers will be on that, blowing some positivity your way. So tune in.
Yeah, if you're a data buffoon, tune into the bloody review podcast. You'll get all the stats and XGs and bloody XOs and bloody what else? Ex-girlfriends, whatever you like. Gambling now. All right. Good night, Bobby.
See you guys.